Friends, family, loved ones, we are gathered here today to mark the death of Hollywood, American cinema, film, television, and freedom as we know it. The WB merger could ruin it all. Morning, folks. Welcome to the Joey Show. I'm Joey Avery, excited to have you here today, even if we're not excited about the subject matter, except let's be honest, folks, we kind of are. We're going to be talking the WB merger. Netflix is taking it over. What does that mean for Hollywood? Paramount is trying to do a hostile corporate takeover. And if that doesn't get your dick hard, I don't know what to tell you. Now, again, I'm not a huge fan of the concept of us losing out on an iconic Hollywood studio, a lot on which I'm currently working. I'm not in favor of that. I'm not in favor of losing access to another important buyer in the creative space. I don't think that's good for the overall output. I'm worried about what happens to HBO. HBO is my sweet little beautiful baby. I don't want anything to happen to that. It's the crown jewel of American television, aside from whichever network I'm ever working for. And currently it's going to be Apple TV, but that's not the point. The point is this: while all of that is technically bad, if some Nepo baby driven succession style mergers and acquisitions drama doesn't brick you the fuck up, find some Cialis or Viagra or Blue Chew. No one sponsored the podcast. We don't actually have to have a favorite. What I'm saying is that the ins and outs of a corporate takeover are objectively fun and awesome. I mean, even think about this. Netflix, okay, a little bit of background. Warner Discovery, run by David Zaslav. See, this is what's fun, is like the second a company starts getting taken over, we get to start talking about CEOs like I'm a goddamn sports podcast. You get to start breaking people down, having those conversations, having them like, Patrick Mahomes, are the Chiefs cooked? Travis Kelce hasn't been able to catch a football since he got a piece of white pussy. These are things people could and would say on a sports podcast. I wouldn't know. I only had one for like a month. But it's fun to talk about business that way. Zaslav is a fucking idiot. This guy sucks. That's fun. That's enjoyable. That's a good time. That helps me understand business. We personalize it a little bit. Walking around Hollywood being like, oh, dude, what do you think those fucking, dude, Sarandos versus Ellison? Yeah, that's fun. That's fun to talk about. So a little bit of background. Warner Discovery, which is the Warner Brothers Studios, they produce tons of iconic movies. They've been one of the big names in Hollywood for a long time. They merged with Discovery, which had a bunch of linear. It's got CNN. It has Discovery Channel, and then you also have HBO. So it's kind of this big. We've already had a lot of M&A, a lot of mergers and acquisitions, a lot of like, hey, our company's doing well, but we're bringing on debt, and we might need a new business daddy from whose teat to suckle, because the shareholders are a bunch of babies and they want their formula. Nom, nom, nom. And that's basically how it works. We suckle upon progressively larger teats. It's impossible to not get to this point. It's how we eventually become one company. That company, Palantir, will become Palantir. That's a whole diversion here. So Warner Discovery is they have some debt, okay? They are kind of a distressed asset. Turns out, I've been told that when people were merging big entertainment properties, it is possible that spending a lot of money on linear cable, that thing, okay, how do I describe this? Cable was a thing back in the day that we had, and we watched stuff on. And we did, I don't know how young the listenership is. You used to,
It used to not be there. You had to show up at a time. People would say, what time is Cheers on? Is that the show with Norm at the bar? When is it on? Well, hand me the TV guide. I can barely read the damn thing. That's how television used to work. Well, these channels, these companies, this property, this IP, it doesn't go away. People just have to buy it and continuously lose money on it. So here's how you have Warner Brothers still makes, it's a good company. They make great things. They're doing well, kind of. But the way the company's been run, apparently not. And David Zaslav, who is the CEO of it, and has I don't know if anyone likes him. Can I say that? Is that a bad thing to say for your career? I'm sure people go to his fancy parties at the Cannes Film Festival. I'm sure they go. I'd go. We'd all go. But I don't think he's a very popular man, because while he was running one of the crown jewels of Hollywood into the ground, he was getting fantastic pay and compensation and all these things. Anyhow, David Ellison, Larry Ellison's baby boy. If you don't know Larry Ellison, he created Oracle, he owns an island, and he also owns some of the worst facial hair you've ever seen. Look at it. What are we doing? I know I have a goatee. It's for a show. Let me cook. He has so much money that you just have to do something with. Like, if your dad is that rich, you have a few possibilities. Okay, one is you can kind of do the Kendall Roy, the Succession thing. That's what David Ellison is doing. And by the way, David, I'd love to work with your studio. But he's got a lot of money, and he's like, okay, let's start Skydance. Skydance took over Paramount. Now Paramount, again, one of these other places that has a lot of networks, Comedy Central, things like that are like, are we doing well? No! There was a little merger, double merger. Now, okay, how do we compete with the big dogs? How do we compete with the Netflix? We need to buy Warner. So he went and he was like, hey, Zaz Daddy, I'm going to buy your company. And Zaslav was like, not really. And then he was like, here's an offer. And then the shareholders were like, oh, fuck, we got to listen to this guy. So he's making moves. He's got a war chest of father's money. They have a good relationship with Trump, and he wants this. He needs this. He needs this to beat Netflix, and he also needs it because what else are you going to do when you're that rich? It's really the only job you can have. What else is he going to do? Is he going to work the pro shop at the country club? It's beneath it. His father has an island. He can either take politicians to that island and start blackmailing them by fucking some whatever people do with islands. It's not for me to say. If your dad's that rich, you can either, have vision and try to do something like this, utilize that money for this. You could try to utilize it for good. Another thing, you could donate, foundation, whatever, and people always go, that's nice, but no one respects it. You're in a tough spot when you're a rich kid, let's be honest. It's a spot no one feels bad for, and we shouldn't, because a lot of them misbehave. But what are you going to do? You're a human being. You got to move one direction. It's like this or Chet Hanks, and I like both. Chet Hanks fan. Wagwan, big bomba clat, pussy clat, bangata. We love Chet Hanks in this household, but that's a topic for another day. So David Ellison has daddy's money, and he has a vision, and if he wants to compete with Netflix, the Tadam, then he kind of needs this to happen. So he tries to take Warner Discovery over, and they're thinking about it, and then all of a sudden, boom! We get news. Netflix is buying them for $72 billion. If I get any particular stats off, it's because I'm going off the top. Baby, we don't need Google right now. We're speaking from the heart. So Netflix buys them. Now this sets off what I would consider as an existential crisis in the hearts and minds of a liberal Hollywood creator. What are you supposed to like here? You're in a tough spot. Because one of the crowning arguments of the Paramount takeover was you're going to have trouble getting this through regulatory approval, and we have been polishing Trump's disgusting old knob for a long time, for a fortnight. Do you have any other fun ways to say for a blue moon? I don't know how else you would say it. Now it sounds like they're sucking his dick for a mediocre wheat beer, but that's not the point. The point is they have the inside path. And if there's anything we know about Trump, it's that all he really wants is for people to stroke his cock and ego. That's it. That is literally, if you don't understand anything and you understand that, you will actually have a fundamental understanding of the world that will carry you for the next 3 years if he lasts. He's not looking great. Story for another day. So if you're sitting in Hollywood, you're like, well, fuck them. I don't want you to be able to own a huge piece of our industry just because you're saying we've sucked this guy off and we're going to buy CNN and try to control the news and make them nicer to him because he thinks anyone criticizing him should be illegal. That doesn't feel very good. Also, if Paramount merges with WB, we're going to have a lot of job loss. You're losing a whole studio. So if you were if you're organizing the drivers for one studio, if you're, organizing the crafty, I don't know, there's a million fucking jobs. You have no idea until you've seen it. So many jobs, so many unions, so much this, so much that. If you create redundancies, boom, that's how we save money, get you out of debt, but also a lot of these people are out of a job in an already contracting industry. So we don't like that for that reason, and we don't like that because they like Trump. How do we like that? Fuck that. We don't want fucking Paramount to get this, and then Netflix buys it, and you're like, fuck, I don't know. Because now you have a big tech giant, probably a better run company, probably they produce better content, although some of it's, drivel, let's be frank. Do we really want Netflix owning HBO? That seems weird. Are they going to get rid of them? Are they going to incorporate them into their... None of this feels right. We love HBO. HBO makes good things. Don't do that to HBO. Also, Netflix is the enemy of movie theaters, or they have been. They've created some films. They've done some limited run. They like a short window. Yeah, you can have our movie, but you go into the theater for X amount of days, and then we're pulling it out because we want people on Netflix, ta-dum, and we want to be the main thing. That's what we want. That's their value proposition. And I sometimes enjoy that as a consumer, I'm not going to lie. And if you made a film, it's like, oh, we get a little theater, a little Netflix, great. But in general, it's bad for the theater business, another business that's been under attack. So who do you like? What are you supposed to be happy about? In general, no matter what happens, it's going to be bad for the average creative person in Hollywood. You could be trying to pitch shows. You could be working on shows. There's gonna be a combination and a contraction of some kind. It may come with, there will be benefits. Of course, there will be benefits to certain things. You get one whole library, a studio gains momentum, they'll make more stuff. Maybe not. Probably not as much as studios competing. This is where the monopoly problem comes in. So I hope it's not as dire as people are making it sound. But at the end of the day, this is a problem we're going to continue to face no matter what sector you're in society. Now, on the one hand, I'm a realist, baby. Hey, I'm wearing a fur coat. If you can't see, I am. Skyline behind me. What does that mean? I understand how the fucking world works. You can't just say, oh, that's bad. Oh, that's sad. Like at the end of the day, things do have to make business sense. Things do have to move forward. Things are always changing. You have to adapt. You got to find a way to adapt. Sure, that's true. You can't argue your way out of business realities at certain times. That being said, this one starts to cross a bit of a threshold. Because if Netflix wins, the streaming wars are over. Streaming wars have been good for creatives and the consumer. That's most of the people involved. You get more content. You get more choice. Yeah, it's annoying. We keep forgetting our passwords. The boomers are I think boomers have died. A lot of boomers have died early, unfortunate deaths because of the amount of passwords that we have. It's unsubstantiated. I guarantee you it's a fact. If you look at all-cause mortality amongst that, it has increased, I guarantee, and I'm not going to look it up, it has increased since the streaming wars began. And we've had this many passwords. Those motherfuckers see a remote and act the way their father's age, my grandfather's, reacted at Normandy. And I'm being serious. And with less bravery a lot of times, and with less belief in themselves and less gumption and less know-how. They are in trouble. They are on the ropes with the amount of passwords and remotes that have been introduced to their life. But every generation has their own struggle to fight against and fight for, and this is theirs. And I can't help them. And they always ask. And I do help them sometimes. But it's fucking sink or swim out here. And sometimes you gotta go. Sometimes you gotta go. If you can't figure out how to watch the thing you want to watch, and that leads you to a stroke, then I don't know what to tell you. There's no pill for that. So some people could think the streaming wars being over would be good. I could see how you'd come to that conclusion. Here's my concern. When they end, and it's all one place, we're going to make less stuff. We're going to make less interesting stuff. And you, oh lovely consumer, will pay fucking more for it. That's not ideal. I understand. Hey, I'm a business-friendly podcast. I get it. Mergers and acquisitions brick me the fuck up. Just from a, God, I wonder what happened in that fucking boardroom. Just from that. Just to be a guy in a suit with like 2 phones in his hands being like, they're trying to fuck me on this deal, aren't they? Well, I'm going to take their board over the table and I'm going to shove a double-sided statistic dildo in their ass. Like that. That's why I liked Succession. Because I don't think that's how those conversations actually happen, but fuck, I'd like to believe it. I'd like to believe that they do. Just drinking fucking Diet Cokes. Woo! It used to be cocaine, but we've realized you can't perform on that. So you know what? Diet Cokes, baby. Woo! I'm going to fuck you in the ass with my fucking shareholder value proposition. Woo! David Ellison must be feeling alive right now. He's like, you want this fucking dick, Sarandos? I imagine. And obviously I would love to work for both of your companies. I'm a huge fan, and I always have been. It's true. It's a true fact. So I understand business is good. You haha business, stonks. They got to go up. I get this. I'm not fucking, come on, baby. I'm not an idiot. Here's what I don't love, okay? Because like I said, the Netflix problem is just a kind of a classic run-of-the-mill monopoly problem. It's not ideal. Not great to have basically a monopoly, I think. It's kind of bad for people, right? The problem with the Paramount offer is, you know how I mentioned that David Ellison is, he's got a war chest of his father's money and they have a close relationship with Trump and they want to, carrot him with this like, oh, we'll control CNN, we'll make it be nice to you, all that. Yeah, sure. Here's the other problem. The money that they raise to buy it is, yes, the Ellisons, and then a significant amount of sovereign wealth funds from the Middle East. Oh, and then Jared Kushner, who's like in the administration, or if he's not, he's interning on the idea of solving Gaza. What a fun concept. What? And Trump's like, I don't have a preferred partner. I'm open to anybody. Netflix is a great company. Now he's doing that because he wants everyone to suck his dick further. This is the one realm in which he understands one thing well, which is like, just make everyone suck your dick the most. And you'd think like, oh, someone sucked your dick, you should be nice to that person. And his actual thing is like, no, but if that person also sucks my dick, then maybe they'll both suck my dick. And then at the last second, I can pivot and decide which mouth to blow my hot load into. It's a lot as far as metaphors go. I'm aware. But I started it roughly 7 minutes ago. I gave you time. And that's longer than he lasts. So I just don't love, I've been relatively clear on this. I don't love, and I would take Middle Eastern blood money. I don't love when they buy up everything, right? Golf, we talked about the comedy thing. I didn't have as hardline a stance as most, but like in general, it's like, oh, maybe they shouldn't own. And by the way, in Paramount's case, what they would own is Warner Brothers Studios, HBO, and CNN and all those linear cable networks and all that. And they've relinquished the idea of having to have a seat on the board. Sure, that's good. But it's like, so then what are we doing here? Oh, it's just a diversification of cash. And then there will be, of course, I'm sure there will be no sort of influence or sway when you've helped one of the biggest deals in Hollywood history go through. Because people usually just invest that kind of money for general vibes. How do I get in on it? Like, I don't really want to help, and I know I don't have enough money to actually do that, but it's like, let me in on it. You know what I mean? Like, I just kind of want to be at the meeting. I want to hear I want to watch. Like I said, this is a fun example of business becoming sports. So fucking put me on, get me on, whatever. Is it MSNBC? CNBC is the money one, right? I don't watch anymore. I swore myself off. It led to some bad stock choices. It's not the point. Get them on there. I want fucking Troy Aikman and Joe Buck calling the game, talking about the board meeting, and having fun with it, being like, oh, it doesn't look like Troy's going, yeah, I don't have an impression for them, but you get the vibe. Maybe I should do Collinsworth. Is probably that's probably an easier Sunday Night Football call. Oh, Mike, I mean, look at Sarandos. I mean, here's a guy who has been running the streaming world for such a long time, but I don't think he's ever played in a game as big as this, and you can tell he looks tired, doesn't he, Mike? And Tarico's like, that's right. I can't do Tarico. But you get the point. I want announcers. I want to watch the meeting. If you're going to do a merger and an acquisition that affects entertainment, put some motherfuckers in the booth. I want to watch the meetings. I want to watch the dialogue. I want the succession. Make that in Netflix. All you fucking do is make great documentaries. Make one about this. We do have a tiny little window here into what that was like, which is Ellison apparently got ghosted. Can you imagine? I'd be so upset. Well, look at that. If you're watching, you'll see I put it up on the screen behind me, which I did not mean to do, folks. Really toying with the setup here. Boom, and we're back. This is Wall Street Journal behind Paramount's, we'll read the journal here, behind Paramount's relentless campaign to woo Warner Discovery and President Trump. Now, here's the deal. Paramount had spent the morning of December 4th finalizing its sixth bid to acquire all of Warner. Now, insiders will tell you, while Netflix is like the trendy choice, and they probably offered Zaslav a nice little cushy job at Netflix, which would allow him to keep fucking vibing and shit, dude, and I totally get it. Paramount needs this to actually compete. It's existential, which means they're gonna fight, okay? And whether or not I want them to win, they should fight. They should. So they're fighting. They're finalizing their sixth bid to acquire all of Warner in all cash, $77.9 billion offer. All cash. This was one of the things that kept moving. At first, it was like a split. Some part cash, some stock, and it just kept moving. Cash, cash, cash. Apparently, there was some fucking lunch meeting with the bankers, and they were like, what can we do? And they were like, cash is king. And I was like, yeah. Yeah, the fuck it is. It's just a business. This should just be a horny business podcast. I think we'd do well. The Joey Show, home of the 12, America's horniest business podcast. Yeah. But Paramount was worried that Warner had already settled for their preferred dance partner, Netflix, and they were giving each other over-the-pants hand jobs in the back of a Honda Civic. I added that last part. It's on brand with the show that we just rebranded. That's also going to be a part of Warner Discovery in whichever one of these. So here's he texted Zaz Daddy. Just tried calling you about a new bid we have submitted. Ellison texted Zaslav. I heard you on all your concerns and believe we have addressed them in our new proposal. Please give me a call back when you can to discuss in detail. He didn't hear back. Oh. Thug. Sensing trouble, Ellison followed up saying Paramount had offered a package, yeah, it had, that covered itself in goo. All the issues Warner had raised, including the need for strong cash value and speed to close. It would be the honor of a lifetime to be your partner and to be the owner of these iconic assets. He texted, according to a regulatory filing on Friday, Ellison's concerns were realized. Warner and Netflix announced a deal for the streaming giant to acquire the iconic Warner and HBO properties for $72 billion, a proposed merger that could radically reshape entertainment. Ellison's father, Larry Ellison, a Trump ally, called the president immediately. Daddy, 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 we suck your cock. Don't know why. When Indian was announced, he hires a lot at Oracle, was announced and told him the transaction would hurt competition. So, here's what I don't love. Trump, in his age and addled brain, being the one who decides what the best idea is and putting his thumb on the scale. Okay. If you're a little bit confused about the money, the Paramount offer, which is, about $78 billion, and Netflix 72. How could you go for 72? You have a responsibility to the shareholders, all that. Netflix is just buying Warner Brothers Studios and HBO, and they're spinning off the linear side of like Discovery Channel and CNN and all that. And then Paramount saying we'll buy all of it. So one of the big things that has to get decided as they go over the top of Zaslav straight to the board in a hostile fucking takeover is basically what people think the extra asset is worth. Is it worth $1? Is it worth whatever? I don't remember exactly. Something like $1 a share versus $3 a share. If you think it's worth $3, the Netflix deal is actually better. If you think it's worth $1, then the Paramount is, and then who really fucking knows, baby? So we will see what happens. It's not good for Hollywood. No, it's not. Not as we continue to steam forward in battles of strike versus ownership, merger versus shareholder, AI versus human being. None of it is trending in a great direction. But of course, is anything actually the death of Hollywood? I think this is an interesting thing that we face kind of in our society at large. If you're not growing, you're dying. This is the concept. I didn't really understand it when I was growing up. I was just like, what do you mean? Like, it's Warner, they're making they're making good shit and they're making money. It's fine. It can't just be like growth or die. Like, Hollywood's never going to stop making shit, but if there's a contraction, it hurts the industry. When the industry no longer feels like a place that's growing, it feels like a place that's going backwards. Yeah, it kind of feels like it's dying, and this is not going to help. But as with anything, we understand it. We vocalize what we think is the best outcome. We try to push for that, and then once the new environment that the world has laid out for us presents itself, we understand the new rules of the game. We adapt, we fight, we fucking rule. Us 12 at the Joey Show, and we win every fucking hostile corporate takeover that we fucking get our grubby little paws on. So we'll see what happens, folks. I'll keep you abreast of the situation. Another situation that continues to develop, and I've alluded to it. I've mentioned it a couple times here. But like people, I think keep asking a relatively interesting and simple and understandable question, which is why the fuck do we keep blowing up random boats in the Caribbean? This is a question people are asking. They just keep asking the question. How come we are straight up fucking from the comfort of our own Pentagon murking vessels allegedly filled with drugs and then offering no proof to prove that they are, or that they were headed to the United States, or that fentanyl is actually coming from Venezuela in a statistically significant amount, or that we should be allowed to do it, or that we're not committing war crimes, which is now a large conversation. And one of the only times I've actually seen this, like, yeah, people talk about it, but it's one of these topics that I feel like people are just having trouble, like, sinking their teeth into, because it's like, oh yeah, we're doing that, huh? It's like it doesn't feel good, but it's not like, it's not like, well, we've done some really bad shit, so that's not as bad. It's like having a sniffle, but it's like a moral sniffle in terms of extrajudicial American killings overseas, where it's like, well, I've had the flu, so what is this cold we can just keep going? That's kind of like, and that's not how I feel. I think it's not nice, and I think we should stop blowing up random boats. And I want to be fair, I'm also not pro smuggling drugs into the country. I think can we do both? I think that's okay. I think there's other ways to stop drugs coming into the country. One of them could be to stop fucking shoving them up your nose, you crack horse. I had a conversation with a friend of mine. She leans a little bit more right, and she was just like, I don't know, fuck them. Like, they're trying to bring drugs into the country. Like, I don't know. Maybe they get blown up. And I said, hey, you do drugs always. You do a lot of drugs. That's part of the equation. And I'm not pro drug dealer unless I know you and you're cutting me a deal. No, I get it. Fentanyl is bad. And to be fair, if you're out at the club and someone got a little key of something, you go, is that cocaine or ketamine? And you just go, don't care, and you sniffing them, then you do have a vested interest in wanting to kill anyone smuggling fentanyl. And I do technically want everyone smuggling fentanyl to die. There is a reason we've had laws, I think, about how to prove someone's doing something wrong before killing them in a video game fashion. Right? It's like, that's the thing with this story that's so shocking to me, is I didn't even know we had to have this conversation. I didn't even think that this was necessary, but alas, we do. Now, finally, this story's picking up a bit of steam because Pedro Hegseth, he's under like they're gonna see if he's party to a war crime. It's real, because someone droned one of these boats allegedly carrying drugs from Venezuela, apparently directly to America somehow. And they drone striked the boat, and then a couple people were still there. They managed to flip over the boat, and they didn't really know what had happened according to some reading of the video. I haven't seen it. I think it's classified. And they were like they're waving at the American plane, kind of like SOS, and the guy was like, boom, and he killed them again. Well, for the first time for these people, second time for the boat, for the group of people, it was a double tap. And he killed them, and they were unarmed at this point. They'd been incapacitated, and I do believe that is a war crime. Of course, it's not really a war as much as it is a video game, and I blame the generation of kids who grew up playing Battleship. You can't just teach children. See, that's the thing. Everyone's like, do video games make kids violent? All games make kids violent. They do. Battleship has been seeped deeply into the brain of Pete Hegseth, and all he understands is must destroy boat. I feel bad for him. Not Not as bad as the 2 people who flipped over a boat and then got killed. But he doesn't understand that you're not supposed to. Boat bad, blow up boat. Here's him talking to the news about why it was good to blow up boat.
Department of War, we got a lot of things to do. So I didn't stick around for the hour and 2 hours, whatever, where all the sensitive site exploitation digitally occurs. So I moved on to my next meeting. A couple of hours later, I learned that commander had made which he had the complete authority to do. And by the way, Admiral Bradley made the correct decision to ultimately sink the boat and eliminate the threat. He sunk the boat, and eliminated the threat. And it was the right call. We have his back, and the American people are safer.
So you didn't see any survivors, to be clear, after that first strike?
I did not personally see survivors, but I stand, because the thing was on fire. It was exploded in fire or smoke. You can't see anything. You got digital. This is called the fog of war. This is what you in the press don't understand. You sit in your air-conditioned offices or up on Capitol Hill and you nitpick and you plant fake stories in the Washington Post about kill everybody, phrases on anonymous sources not based in anything, not based in any truth at all. And then you want to throw out really irresponsible terms about American heroes.
There's simply a lot to digest there for a man who's talking about a drone strike. I'm not the first American to make this point. You go to any comments section discussing this video, it's a relatively well-noted, obvious thing to state that he was also in an air-conditioned room playing a video game called Battleships 2025 Blow Up Boat. And that's the thing that is hard to appreciate about this guy who's LARPing as a tough guy and basically just doing what Trump wants. Trump's sitting there nodding his head while falling asleep going, you tell him. But he knows that all he has to do is say media bad, and he'll have the support of the commander-in-chief and highest person in the land to do whatever he wants, namely kill people, in service of the concept of going to war in Venezuela. That's right, a regime change. That's what we're talking about. I'm not saying we're actually going to do it, but that is what we're moving toward. There's no other reason or justification. And I grant you, fentanyl, bad. Drug smuggle, bad. But also bad is no proof, no statistical reason for doing it, and also killing people in a war crime fashion, which would somehow be worse if we were in a war, because we're not in a war, because you're just blowing up boat, because boat bad. This is not good. This is not good. But Tom Cotton, thankfully, has watched the video and can tell us why it's dangerous.
I saw 2 survivors trying to flip a boat loaded with drugs, bound for the United States, back over so they could stay in the fight.
Okay. Do we respond to that? I don't actually know if that, if the clip warrants a response, because if you listen to it at home, you're like, I might drive into a ditch, which would mean you're not at home, you're in the car. You understand the point. I don't even think that warrants a response, aside from noting how positively absurd it is. You know, you have to play a game. You do have to play a game with the American people where you say, like, here's what we're thinking, here's what you want. You got to kind of whitewash things a little bit, but they used to try. Right? I think this is the problem, is the propaganda isn't good anymore. They're fundamentally unskilled at what they're doing. Do you want to get lied to by a fucking idiot or by someone that makes you even think? I think I would rather get lied to by someone that makes me even think, because then when I've uncovered it, I'm like, oh, I'm a genius. I'm special. Otherwise, it actually makes me mad, because I'm like, oh, you think I'm an idiot. You simply must. I think that is a piece of understanding of talking about politics that people might miss. Like everyone, like it's a very common thing. Like, look, we're in America. We disagree on politics. Of course, it's the holidays. You're going to go home. You're going to be around people. They're not going to agree. You're going to have disagreements. You disagree about things. And the one thing that usually always brings people together is people are like, well, all those people in D.C., they're fucking idiots. They don't know what the fuck's going on, you know? And like that is always like kind of a nice moment because it's like, all right, let's not make this about us. We don't really need to fight. We don't need to like dive into this and that. Let's just be chill and be like, well, those people in D.C., they're lost. They're a mess. Like that's an easy way out of a lot of these conversations. But I wish that was actually how I was feeling because I want to react to that clip and be like, what is this guy, an idiot? Here's the problem. He thinks you are. He thinks I am. He knows that we all have the attention span of a goldfish and that the main goldfish he needs to appease is watching him from the White House on fucking cable and that he just needs to fucking please the chain of command. And he doesn't actually give a fuck about what the people think because he knows they're probably not watching and assumes they're stupid enough to listen to him if they are, because they might just go, oh, drug bad, kill people, other country good. Yeah, is that good? Is going to war in Venezuela a good idea? Is randomly striking boats, some of which people are saying included people who weren't smuggling drugs, is that how we actually make things safer in the countries that we are saying we don't want coming here? They think you're stupid, and that's the real infuriating thing. Moving on here, we got another story. They're banning social media in Australia for children. We'll get into that in 1 second. First, I'm going to read you some tour dates. Come on out, see me on tour. Just joeavery.com now. Used to have to say joeavery.com/live. Now it's just joeavery.com. You just scroll down to the whole shows tab there. Really exciting stuff. This weekend, Beverly, Massachusetts. That's just outside of Boston. After that, Batavia, Illinois. That's just outside of Chicago. So Chicago, Boston people come through. Everyone else, that's just so you know because you're fucking confused. San Jose, California, December 23rd. The Christmas motherfucking show. That always sells out. Get your tickets now. Jan 22nd, Philadelphia, PA. Huntsville, Alabama. Nashville, Tennessee. Dallas, Texas, many more coming up. joeavery.com for that. And also, if you just want to see a very light website redesign or submit your name, tell me where you want me to go. It adds you to my email list so that I can email you. That's right at the top there. And, you're subscribed to this. Make sure you're subscribed to the main YouTube. We have some fun stuff coming out. We're going to start doing some full weekend crowd work compilations, so kind of best ofs from each weekend. And we're working on some maybe like mixing that with some vlog day in the life stuff. Maybe we got a special coming after that. Oh, shit. It's going to be an exciting couple of months. So, yeah, hopefully you come on out and see me live, and this large Hollywood merger is good for my career. All right, folks, so Australia has banned social media for teenagers. Crazy first move for a nation to do this. Potentially is it a sign of things to come? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it flying in the face of freedom? I don't know. It says here a quote from Australian teenagers after social media ban. No. Had to do one. Australian teenagers have taken to social media. Oh, no. Had to do two for the last time to farewell their followers, mourn the loss of platforms, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, it is 16 and under, and they're banning them from basically everything. I'm going to miss you so much, and especially the funny content, one TikTok user wrote. See, these kids need to be in school. You can hear it in the writing right there. That is, get off social media, go to school. Goodbye, see you on the other side. Some heartbreaking quotes here. As an autistic 13-year-old, I am devastated. If I had a nickel for every time I said that last week. My playlist of 1,400 plus songs on YouTube will be deleted, and Reddit too. I have 0 friends. I will be completely alone for the next 3 years until I am 16. That sounds like someone's trying to catfish Jeffrey Epstein, but that's neither here nor there. That is obviously, that's heartbreaking for that for that person. I don't mean to be like the shitty like older parent who's like, sounds like you do need to get off the internet. I recognize it's hard to make friends when you're autistic, for sure. But I think being on YouTube making song playlists is not the easiest way to do it. I'm not here to give advice to the 13-year-old autistic population of Australia, though I can't wait to see you on the hit show on Netflix. I am here to say this. I don't think we should do it in America. I think we should see how it goes in Australia and highly consider it. Because at the end of the day, social media has a lot of positive qualities. It's the only reason that I currently have a career. It has helped people meet people, find people, but we know it is objectively bad for your mental health. Here's a stat that's never going to show up in Australia. Kids who didn't end up getting cyberbullied and, taking drastic action. You're never going to get that stat. You're just not. And that's a thing with some forms of, yes, nanny state bullshit, but also altruistic kind of forward-looking governing things. It's like, yeah, it's going to be something that is good for you, but it's only going to be seen as a negative. I'm glad they're doing it because I think everything that happens in Australia, we can kind of just go like, woo, fun, wacky, Ooh, let's see how it goes. They're everything is funny. You put it in that accent, it is. Like, he's crying in Australia. Like, dude, it's just kind of a fun place. Like, I think we should probably experiment with every new form of government policy in Australia. See how it goes. Why not? They're a lot like us. They have tension with the native community. A lot of them like to drink and party. They have a football. It's their own football. That's fun. They really are the bizarro world. They're in the upside down. Whoa, it's the land down under. Whoa, we should test all of our policies in Australia. Here's the problem. When they work, we would never do them here. Did they do a gun thing? I think they did a good gun thing and it worked. And we're like, shut up. You guys suck. It's tough. If you're a parent, if you're a kid, you got used to it. You get used to having this online life, and then it goes away. That's difficult. It's very difficult for the kids who have it. The concern is it's going to drive kids into new, less understood, seedier, potentially more predatory online realms. People from back in my day, people of my age and wisdom and distinction, we remember a time when you want to meet a friend, you used to have to go on AOL Instant Messenger. Woo-wee! That's a dangerous place. You go on AOL Instant Messenger. You got a handle. No one knows who you are. People come around saying ASL. Age, sex, location. Boy, you in trouble now. Sometimes you thought you made a friend. Oh, I'm talking to a hot girl. She just lives on the east side of Kansas. She live on the east side there, over out there in Kansas, and she's a beautiful girl, and I know she is, because she sends me pictures, and they're nice pictures. Whew, you wouldn't believe these pictures. My friends tell me that's a 45-year-old man spanking his monkey, trying to get a picture of you. Woo, boy. Well, that's not what I want to hear. I fell in love with a beautiful, sheltered girl on the other side of Kansas. Goddamn. Of course, I want to FaceTime with her, but she can't. She has a strange often developing cancer and a lot of random tragedies in her life, which she relies upon me for strength. That was my impression of Manti Te'o, ladies and gentlemen. But here's the problem. If kids go online and they do want to keep talking to their friends after school and they're not going to places that are trying to put in guardrails, Instagram, blah, 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 they're trying. Say what you want. They're not good for you, but they're trying to be reputable companies. They're going to be on Chinese whoosy what's it? And they're going to be on random shit, and that's scary. But if you're parenting well, keep them out of that. Keep them out of that. Your kids are going to get in trouble. I don't know. I just know that kids being on social media all the time is not a good thing. Can't be good for the brain. We are going to look back on this era and be like, boy, fuck, cooked all of our damn brains. So we'll see how it goes in Australia, and to the children out there, stay strong. And to the adults, hey, that's kind of good, right? I post some crazy shit on there. I don't want some fucking 16-year-old looking at it. Get out of here. You're not supposed to know any of this. You're not supposed to know any of this. 14, 15, 16, younger than that, for fucking get it, play with blocks. You're a child. Play with blocks. You're a child. How about this? Here's an idea. This just came to me. This is a good idea. This is a great idea. Bring back the ones that I used when I was a kid. Yes, AIM, it has problems. Okay, fine. But you can have it. You just can't have the hyper intense, like, have a little MySpace, have a top 5 friends. Yes, it's a good idea. No, I mean, ideally, kids are going out and doing drugs with each other in person. Right? It's the problem with the internet. I don't know. How do you whack-a-mole the internet? I wish them luck down there in Australia. I wish them luck. We have to, if this isn't the way to do it, then we have to figure out a way. And maybe, yes, it does actually have to come from inside the home and not from inside the Capitol. Maybe it is and always has been parenting, but as we know, not every child has access to that. So how do we try to help? I don't know, but the Australians will try. And if it goes poorly, we know they'll just say, "Arr, nar." Let's do a quick few stories here on the back. Just some fun, quick things to react to. And then maybe if we have time, I'll answer. I put out a little thing on Instagram. I'll see if you guys had questions for me. Answer a couple of those. I'll get you on out of here so you can enjoy the rest of your week. Nick Fuentes went on Tucker Carlson. That was a while ago. Nick Fuentes went on Piers Morgan. And frankly got dog-walked by Piers Morgan, which was interesting to see. A little background on Nick Fuentes. He is he's an online political commentator, hard right in the sense that he says things like Hitler is awesome, I celebrate Stalin's birthday, I question the number of people in the Holocaust, things like that. There's a little bit of like shock value to it, which his group of usually incel skewing, not guys who are having a lot of success with women, but kind of go online and form a parasocial relationship with him as like the guy who says it. Yeah, I fucking said it. And his clips really started popping off because in his anti-Semitism, he stumbled upon some interesting and fair critiques of Israel. Hadn't checked his work on how he got there, but he stumbled upon some interesting things, and every once in a while, he absolutely hits the nail on the head. He has some really funny clips, some very eloquent clips, and then some of the exact opposite. He's gained some prominence recently. He got accused, people assumed it was one of his fans, Groyper, as they call them, who shot Charlie Kirk, which we still don't know much about that guy, but that's a topic for another day. And then he went on, he's been mainstreaming a little bit. He talked to Tucker Carlson. He talked to Patrick Bet-David. And then he talked to Piers Morgan. And what Piers Morgan did, apparently, was be the first person to do actual research and challenge him and absolutely dog-walked him on a variety of topics. I'm not going to go through all of them. It's worth a watch, honestly, or if you want to watch someone react to it in complete fashion, Kyle Kalinske, who has a show called Secular Talk, he did a pretty good breakdown. I just saw one that I just thought was kind of great and kind of illuminates a lot of what we're dealing with here.
Are you actually attracted to women?
I am attracted to women.
You're not gay?
No. But I will say that women are very difficult to be around.
That's a point. That's a fair point.
There's that.
And do you think they should have the right to vote?
I do not. No, absolutely not.
They should stay at home?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
See, basically, you're just a misogynist old dinosaur, aren't you? For a young guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm the boomer. I know I'm the boomer here, but actually, you're a 27-year-old dinosaur, aren't you? Aren't you, Nick Fuentes? All women.
I am.
All women are annoying. All women
I'm a
grow
fossil.
old. They all get fat. Says the guy. Have you ever had sex?
No, absolutely not.
Wow. Says the guy who's never got.
Yep, there it is. Now his fans, of course, will always think he won. He was clearly on the back foot in this entire interview, and the argument that people will make is, well, he's Catholic, dude. He's maintaining his celibacy. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I came from a different time in America. When the hyper-masculine, when, like, the fucking dudes set, the guys who really had something to say and were gonna say it, at least listen to a guy who fucked. Seriously. Some people have religion, other people just are virgins. And if you want to get your perspective on the world from someone, might I suggest that person not be because people who haven't had sex are missing a huge data point on how the world works. And they're also a little fucking pent up. They're a little pent up. And it describes a lot of I'm basically only focused on the boys, girls are weird, sleepover level dialogue. That is the most troubling, that he does weave in with sometimes very funny, sometimes very entertaining, and sometimes illuminating points. But he's got some real weirdest guy at the sleepover energy right there. It's because he hasn't fucked. Is he that much of a Catholic? Guy doesn't want women to vote. Well, actually, Catholics probably, I don't know. I don't think that's the Pope's position right now. Is that fair? Is that fair to say? That's just so funny to me. But that's where we are. That's where we are. And that is one of the reasons in which the internet is bad. Because he speaks to a lot of other people who also are having trouble having sex, and it causes them to freak out on an entire half of the population. And that's not ideal, ladies and gentlemen. That's not ideal. We do have a couple other stories here. But yeah, give that a watch if you want to see more. I want to talk a little bit about AI here. There was a long story in The Atlantic about the chatbot delusion crisis. Researchers are scrambling to figure out why generative AI appears to lead some people to a state of psychosis. It's a long piece. It's very interesting, and it's very troubling. I mean, it's scary. It is. To some people, it is a triggering incident that triggers a state of psychosis. You can see how it would happen. You start talking to somebody, they start talking back, they start validating a lot of what you're saying. They also are like, have access to more information. They're like the most interesting person that you've ever listened to. They're also like an authority. So if you say something to AI and then it says you're right, you're like, holy fuck, we are so right. Like, I can feel the mania building in myself just thinking about it. And it's definitely something that we need to be careful of and keep away from people that are prone to this sort of thing. But I'm going to say something that diverts a little bit because I feel like I've engaged in a lot of AI doomerism, what it could do. I don't know what it's going to do to the economy. I don't know if it's actually going to work. I don't know if it's going to accelerate, global conflict. It's hard to say. It's accelerating all that. But also sometimes it is sick. Let's be honest. No one wants to say that. You post something online. I don't like AI slop. I don't like seeing it on my feed. I've had enough of it. It's gross. It's done. It's stupid. We're over it. It does have some helpful uses, though. It does sometimes. It has replaced, and this is making us more insular, but it has replaced the concept of I'm going to ignore someone who knows something who is also busy because I don't understand and I can't and I don't want to Google it. Like, you can now have something instruct you on something. That's helpful. I think we're going to head towards a place where I don't know what the global consequences will be, but if you figure out a healthy and usable way to incorporate some aspects of it into your own life, you will see an increase in some of your abilities. And that's not so bad. But you need to be careful, because if you start talking to it, start having a relationship with it, you need to get out of there right now. Right the fuck now. You can't, we just need a policy, no clankers if you're nuts. No clankers if you're nuts. If you're a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and it's fine if you are, that's okay. Everyone is in some way. You are maybe a little bit more. You can't talk to the machines. You don't get to talk to the clankers. They're going to drive you crazy. I don't know how to implement that. Maybe we need to go down to Australia and check it out a little bit. Maybe we need Australia to find a way to be like, if you have any documented past of mania, you don't talk to the fucking clankers. They're going to drive you up a wall. Up a wall. So we'll see, folks. Let's get into, let me answer some of your questions. Let me see if anyone wrote in. And I'll answer some of your questions. And, of course, you can always send them into joeyshowpodcast@gmail.com. But let's see if anyone popped in through the Instagram. Sometimes people have interesting queries. Okay, we do. We do have a few here. Okay. Joint or upgrade to blunt when listening to Tribal Seeds? Great question. And I guess I must have posted. I think I posted from the Tribal Seeds concert. They followed me the other day. That was very exciting because I wore a shirt to their San Diego show. Tribal Seeds, if you don't know, they're Irie white boy reggaeton. Big hopper, bomba clot. Chet Hanks, we discussed earlier. Check them out. They're lovely. I go joint because I don't even, look, I talk a big game. I'm a fun guy. Everyone knows I'm a fun guy. I'm wearing a fur coat. You see me and it's like, God damn, that guy's fucking fun as hell. And that's true, but I also work hard. But I also am a fucking lightweight, kind of. Like, I can drink. I can definitely put some back. Like, if you don't drink that much, you'd be alarmed at what would happen if I was really getting after it. Weed, I've discovered, tiny bit. A couple puffs of it, a whole joint I don't even need to do. Now, if I'm with the crew, if I have an Irie crew skanking, we're going to need to lick up that blunt. Shit, goddamn. And blunts have a great smell. They always remind me, like, I think they remind you of whatever your first real concert venue was. For me, it's the Catalyst in Santa Cruz. Like, when I smoke a blunt, I'm like, we're at the fucking Catalyst, dude. So yeah, just a little bit, because I just don't need that much weed. If I do a lot of weed, all of a sudden I'm just like second guessing too many things instead of just taking off the edge just a little bit. That's what you want. Zins too. I can barely do 3s. 6s, get out of here. I need Zin 1s. They need to make Zin 1s for a bitch like me. Or maybe just, I don't need to do them. But 1s maybe. I don't know. I think it's a good idea. So joint, but like spiritually blunt is how I would answer that question. Oh, that's interesting. What would you do if you ate a bunch of fiber at lunch and then your car broke down on the freeway? This is, and I'm not going to say her name, but I think she shat her pants. I would absolutely just, what do you do? Like, obviously you clinch as long as you can, but you start scouting immediately. You start looking like a quarterback surveying the field. Like, you're thinking, I'm going to be able to figure this out. But you got to start looking, can I squat behind that divider and just absolutely open the floodgates? And if so, Do I need to grip cheeks with my hands and spread so that I can get out of there clean? These are questions. These are questions. What cities have the best crowds for your live shows? And one city that fucking sucks. Woo! That is a good question. Nothing beats a hometown show. Always love, San Jose, San Francisco. They're fun. It's too many people that I know, which I don't love. I mean, I love that they're there, but and the after parties are great, but it's not ideal. But it's just, the hometown shows always mean a lot. San Diego is up there. Austin is up there. Austin, yeah, Chicago. I mean, I'm just naming like the big cities. Boston is very great. I'll tell you, I don't love Long Island. Just going to say, I know you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to say things like that. I'm sure it's lovely out there. I don't know. But I always put it this way. They have the entitlement of people who live in the big city with the sophistication of people who do not. So they are all very like, you better fucking impress me because I know everything. And it turns out they miss a lot of things. They don't understand a lot of stuff, and that's okay. What would I be doing if I wasn't a comedian? Probably just fucking modeling. No, I'm kidding. What would I do if I was not a comedian? Sorry, just checking to make sure I'm not missing any here. What would I be doing if I wasn't a comedian? I said it earlier in the show, mergers and acquisitions. Dead fucking ass. Dead ass. M&A, mergers and acquisitions. I honestly think, because as much as I'm really happy I'm not doing this, truly, genuinely happy that I'm not doing this, but it does run in my family. My dad was a city manager. My uncle was a mayor. My brother worked in politics. I probably would have gone into politics because it kind of mixes that element of like, I'm interested in it, but you get a little... Yeah, you get a little fucking. You get to go on stage a little bit. You get to see. You have an outlet for you see something and you're like, God, you guys are fucking idiots, and you get to kind of say that, but in a fancy way. And also, it completely strokes your ego and it makes you feel important. And those things matter to me. When I was in DC and. We got a cool tour. We were walking around. We were walking around the Capitol, and we were storming that motherfucker. We were on the floor of was it the Senate or the House? I don't remember, and this is why it was the House. But we were just standing in there, and I was like, yeah, I could definitely fucking do this. This would be sick. Be kind of sick. Walking around in a suit, 2 fucking cell phones, texting reporters and doing all sorts of all that shit. And like, yeah, it'd be super annoying too. And I've already, like, this podcast alone has disqualified me from ever doing it, nor do I want to, given the modern state of the world. I'd much rather just observe and talk about it. But I think if I didn't have the outlet of comedy, then I had always wanted to speak. I gave the speech, I already done comedy, but I gave the speech at my college graduation. I didn't realize this. I gave the speech at my 5th grade graduation. I didn't realize this until we were going through files after my dad passed, and I was looking through old family stuff, and I was like, holy shit, I spoke at my 5th grade graduation? Bodied it. And I was always up presenting and talking about something and doing what have you. And I don't know if I've said this before, but I remember when I ever first learned about philosophy, I was probably in, I don't know, late grade school or something. I just remember distinctly sitting, and I can just see the moment, standing in the shower as a young kid and being like, God, I wish I could just get paid to think about shit and say it. And I fucking did it, baby. So I guess that would have been another way of doing it. Thank you guys for submitting a few questions. I'm sure some more will roll in because I posted it right before I started. So I'll try and save any ones for a future episode if this is something people like on the back end. But yeah, joeyshowpodcast@gmail.com if you want to send anything through. Otherwise, thank you guys very much for listening to The Joey Show. I'm Joey Avery. Good night. Thank God I have a podcast.